notice me. Tryna tell you, baby, I just wanna take my team all the way to the top where we supposed to be. Get them hitters way down underneath my feet. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm just tryna feed my family. Lord, keep me safe while I'm out here jamming.
It's a state of emergency. It's been a hell of a year. Hell for over 400 years. My people, it's time we stand. It's time we demand the freedom that this land promises. President Biden, we demand justice, equity, policy, and everything else that freedom encompasses. And to accomplish this, we don't need allies. We need accomplices. It's bigger than black and white. This is not a trend. This is our plight. Until freedom. Until freedom.
What's going on, family? This is Salamahn.
It's your boy A.D.
And you're watching Reparations TV.
Today, we talking about white allies. Shouts out to Tamika Mallory, had their performance with Lil Baby at the Grammys. It went crazy. She called them white accomplices. Not just allies, but an accomplice, meaning somebody that's down to take that charge with you, but not necessarily leading that mission. Today we had one of our white accomplices with us. And you want to introduce yourself to him?
Sure, I'll introduce myself. My name is Nathan Ebline. I go by Nasty Nate. I'm a lowercase G. But I represent Baltimore Blend. And I do a lot of things kind of in Baltimore when it comes to artists and brands and stuff like that.
Okay, Nate. So we know that you're in the artist space. You're also in entertainment, that whole realm. What do you feel like is the best realm, or let me say this the right way? What do you feel like is the best role for a white ally to play for black people in the mission to accomplish reparations? Because that's what we're about. That's what we're here for.
So I think it's really important as a white man in this topic, because I have to really lead by example for my fellow counterparts as well. I think that when it comes down to that, you need to have a responsibility to talk about what's true. And I know I'm grateful that living in Baltimore, I've been able to meet people like you, a lot of my friends that I consider brothers and sisters, that have really showed me the meaning of being a human. You know what I mean? And not to really go too off topic, but I wear this tau every day, TAU. I'm sure anybody that's been in Greek life understands what that means. It's about brotherhood. And I started doing that since I was in high school. So I've carried that mentality with me, and that's how I approach interacting and reparations and stuff like that every single day. To your point of what's the best avenue, I think it can get really confusing because there's a lot of competing interests. I mean, even pursuing reparations is an interest in and of itself. Majorly, I think that something I believe Solomon and you reiterated maybe a few episodes ago, insurance and things like that, life insurance, and how when the slave trade was going on, they were allowed to insure those boats and sometimes deliberately capitalize on that. And I can't help but come back to that same worry about when reparations are given out, whether it's in the form of cash or in the form of real estate. Basically, is that going to be devalued? Are you going to be liquidated? And how do we protect the reparations that are agreed upon? What is really a safe asset to put your money or your equity into without setting yourself up to get liquidated? And I've heard a few really interesting ones. One's been credit. But remind you, we're playing in the same credit game that Bill Gates is and all these other guys, so you don't think they're going to try to strong-arm people out of the way. And then real estate, of course, that worries me. So I look at it more in a cryptocurrency thing and moving towards an M1 currency, because I think the only way to really get a solid seat at the table is going to be to create our own table.
I agree. It's just when I think about white allies and white accomplices, excuse me, there's one event that comes to mind that I always keep in the back of my mind, and that was something that a white woman asked Malcolm X when he was still alive. And the story goes pretty much that a white woman asked Malcolm X asked him what she could do to help our situation as black people, or to assist in, you know, the things that they were talking about when Malcolm X was with the Nation of Islam. And reportedly he told her nothing, that there was nothing she could do. I come to find out that later on in his life, he said that that was one of the biggest mistakes that he ever made, was to tell her that there was absolutely nothing that she can do. And in today's time, I can completely understand why he said that now, because in today's time, we're so, even though in a lot of ways we're still separated and segregated, the totality of us, we are integrated in a lot of ways. And it would be a lot harder, in my opinion, to achieve these goals that we want to achieve, and especially in terms of reparations and things like that, without the aid of some white people. Not to invoke a white savior complex or anything of that nature, but in some ways we do need white people to step up, because one thing that I've heard a lot of people say is that racism is not a black problem, it's a white problem. And it's something that they have to go to their community and talk to their people about. We're not the ones really perpetuating that, you see. So it's just something that I've always thought about, and I just feel that, especially in today's time, is so true. Like, look what happened with the Black Lives Matter situation. You know, black people had been saying Black Lives Matter for months and years. Centuries, right? Now, of course, it's needless to say, of course Black Lives Matter, right? But look what happened after the George Floyd protests, or during those protests. It's not that you didn't have white people and other races saying Black Lives Matter, but you started to notice that when the protests happened worldwide, there was a lot more white people stepping up and really saying, you know what, like, we're no longer going to remain silent, because what we're seeing on camera right now is it's embarrassment.
Yeah, silence is violence.
You know, it's a atrocity, is what it is. So, you know, it just comes to show, like, once you have, you know, a strong black front that really is trying to move something, and you get that white backing, it's no telling what can happen. Look at all these major corporations. I have never seen that in my life. Remember when we went to New York City and we saw all those LED billboards talking about Black Lives Matter?
Yeah,
you never would have seen it.
Yeah, Black Lives Matter and big LED lights.
And you know what? Chase Bank has absorbed subsidiaries that traded slaves for financial,
insured them and everything.
That's
and
right.
They ruined our country with Bernie Madoff.
That's right. So much to talk about with that, but it's just crazy to see this kind of like a complete 180 when you talk about Chase Bank, because even they had a LED. So, you know, it just comes to show that when white people really stand up and they really start to get involved and get their hands dirty with it, like, you unstoppable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, like, we are living in a world that at this point in time, white people are really running this world. You know, and it didn't get like that by accident. It's perpetuated in that way because of all these, you know, things that don't go checked, and these balances that don't get checked.
Yeah, but
you know,
so I want to say, you know, we need white people to understand that what separates us isn't as great as what some might feel on the outside. And we also need a lot of white people to understand that there is a line of delineation. I don't want you to say that you don't see color, because when a cop pulls me over, the first thing he thinks is I'm a black man. I might have glasses on, I might even have a suit, but if I'm rolling in a nice car, certain thoughts might creep into his head. They call that implicit bias or what have you. When somebody sees a name like Muhammad on an application, or like Jenkins, they're thinking that this is a ethnic person, a non-white person, and it might prevent them from receiving certain even opportunities to interview, let alone a job. So all this to say is, from white allies and accomplices, we want you guys to embrace the fact that we're not the same, but there are plenty of things that should unite us. We all want the same things out of life. We all want to live a long time for the most part. We all want to make a lot of money. A lot of us want to have kids or have kids, raise them up. We want to travel. We want to experience new things. We eat, sleep, dream. A lot of us pray or have our own gods, religions. There's not too much that separates us, but the skin color, it is a factor. And I don't want anybody to gloss over that fact, Nate. Now, do you feel like a lot of races use that as veiled racism to say, I got black friends. You hear other things they say. I got black friends. I'm not racist.
Well, it's funny that you asked that because I'm 26 years old, so I've had to see a lot of people that were friends of mine go through really awkward situations like that. And I've of course been in my own fair share of awkward situations, but I think that having those discussions and having those conversations with those people in those moments doesn't really matter who you are. It's really important because I know that when I first had the epiphany, right? I didn't like what I was being told. You see what I'm saying? And that was just simply because I was wrong. You know what I mean? So I think that what people have a really big problem with is sometimes admitting when they are wrong. And with something like racism, that is a wrongness that has been indoctrinated into society. You gotta be able to not feel like something's being taken away from you. You know what I mean? And that's where I feel like a lot of people who struggle with that kind of sit in that zone. So I've heard it. I've definitely heard it before,
Wow.
Yeah.
Nate, we appreciate you sharing your thoughts and things like that because I feel like it's important for us to hear things from another perspective. No one can come to a resolution unless you hear all sides of the story. So I know we're kind of running short on time here, but I just had one final question for you, Nate. What comes to your mind? What is one thing that you can say that a white person can do? Just one thing that they can do to help better the relationship between black and white people in coming to a resolution to, even the playing field and things like that.
To be honest with you, here's the most simplest thing that anybody can do. And I did it for myself. I'm a Baltimore City resident. I've lived here my entire life. I live in northeastern Baltimore City. And when people started to ask me about my city, I found it hard to talk about it because I hadn't walked down those streets. I hadn't been down North Avenue. I haven't eaten from these businesses. I haven't spoke to these people because there's this white comfort, that you get grown up with if you're in certain parts of society. So what I decided to do is I started to live in my community and live with my community, not just people that I felt comfortable with, so really going out there and living life in the community. And that's why I feel so happy with where I'm at right now. And I think that it's a really simple way for people to start to kind of take that veil off and move forward.
Yeah, and we gonna need you in the struggle for reparations, equity, equality, everything that we're attempting to do out here. You came down to Miami with us. You,
That's right.
Radio Skinny, shouts out Radio Skinny, Native American homeboy, But, it's beautiful when you can see people of different nationalities, like even on our show, our audio engineer, he's a Palestinian guy. Shouts out to Becker, good dude. You know what I mean? Nate's a white guy, Skinny's a Native American. We're black people and we're all about bettering our situation and ourselves, but we want a better world altogether.
That's
not
right.
just for black people, but for everybody. But we just want people to acknowledge just a little bit, not that there's a poverty or pain Olympics or anything, but when it comes to this country, black people have gotten the short end of the stick. That's all we want, is that acknowledgement, and then people to go out of their way to do something to rectify that, because we can't get it done on our own. Those protests did nothing in Baltimore when it was only black people. But like Salamahn said, when white people were coming off of George Floyd because of the 8 minutes, 46 second knees on neck, they were everywhere across the globe, and they had to do something about it because they can't shut up millions of people across the globe.
That's right.
So we on our way out of here. We appreciate you, Nate. Thanks for stopping through. We're gonna bring you through.
Thank y'all, guys. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you, Nate.
One more thing. Nate is the white boy that you see on the intro. When you watching our show on YouTube, and you see the white guy, you know, show him the T real quick, Nate. You know what I mean? He representing right now, you know, Reparations brand all day. Make sure y'all go to reparationsbrand.com. We got y'all. We need y'all help in this struggle, in this fight. Now, we're going to wrap it up today. It's A.D.
It's a Salamahn.
And you're now watching
Reparations TV.
Shit.